Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Bogey, Michael Kahn, Sarah Griffiths, Rob H, Ben White, Maximum Gravy, Austin Whitsitt, John Kays, Tommy Swagnuts, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, theflatearthchannel.com, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Test, you should have no problems, correct?
No, that's what the test's for. If you're going to damage it, that's when you damage it. So like I say, the reason I don't like doing the test is because it's amplifier destroying. The process itself is what would destroy the amplifier. You know, if you don't know when something's clipping, which most people don't, they don't know what a distortion is, so they might not notice that the amp's clipping to all hell and sounds horrible. I know what a clipping amp sounds like. So even though the good amps had no clip light on them, they've got no lights on them at all, really, other than a power light. You just have to know what an amp sounds like when it's reached its limits, when it's at the clipping point. But yeah, it absolutely could have destroyed everything, Neil. It could have set the house on fire if it had have overheated. If I'd have been wrong about the impedance and it did happen to have some nasty dip below what the amp's capable of, I don't think it would have set on fire. It had just gone into protection mode and shut down. But, you know, it's sat on carpet, so if it's reaching 100 degrees C on carpet, you never know what could happen. There's all sorts of bad things that can happen when you're doing these sorts of tests. But, you know, I know how to set things up correctly, and you set them up to their limits, and once you've done it, you don't have to do it again.
I'd like to hear what the neighbors were saying.
There's been times that we've had, admittedly not bass, which is the stuff that travels, but both kids screaming their heads off ill or something like that, and we've gone to the neighbours after the fact and gone, "Oh, we're really sorry we kept you up all night with the kids screaming." They're like, "Didn't hear a thing." And it's one of the reasons I picked this particular property to build, to live in rather. I'd seen, I was an estate agent for a period, so I'd seen lots of different buildings and how they were built and the structures themselves. And what you want is a fish tank. If you're going to have a room that's got a lot of noise in it, you want big, thick, giant, thick walls and giant, thick concrete floor and ceiling. And that mass, just more mass, stops sound getting through. Whereas in a semi-detached house, as we call it, one house that's split in half that's got two people living either side, the partition wall's normally just brick, sometimes not even, that's crappy partition, and sound just goes straight through it. So you can't have any noise, in a semi-detached house, whereas in this particular apartment, they just happen to be very well sound insulated, which I noticed almost immediately, and with it all being triple glazed, it is like a sealed box. So, although I know there's no amount of concrete that can stop certain bass, it's going to get through no matter if you had 4 foot thick walls, it would still get through. That much I know. And certainly at those frequencies, the really, really low infrasonic frequencies, they travel through anything. Anyway, enough tech talk. Just pleased to get things working before Christmas. With 4 amps in repair, everything functions, everything's working almost to spec. Certain things I've had compromises on to get it working, but to the most part, everything works to spec. And I don't know, I can't overestimate how good that feels to have everything functional. Because it is a very high tech setup, which I've only acquired from working in certain industries and being able to buy high tech stuff for cheap. But at the end of it, you've got it, and you want it working and usable. It's like, well, if it's good, I want to use it to the best of its advantages to run my show. And in the case of audio monitoring, if I've got an exceptionally good high-fidelity audio monitoring setup in a really nicely treated studio, it just means I can hear everything. It means I can balance the volume better. It means I can hear when something's crapping out and making the whole sound rubbish. For the last 6 months, that's been me. But there we go.
So it's sort of like when you're able to just pay a bill without any problems because the money's there. Same thing with the sound, right?
Well, it is exactly the same. The person that gave me the money to pay for the projection lamp, someone dropped some money on me in GoFundMe about a month ago, and half the money went towards the projector repair. The other half I just bought 2 second-hand amps with, which is what I'm talking about. So I bought a 4-channel and a 2-channel, well, 6 extra channels. So I've got the 4 channels that I actually needed, because I've got 4 channels in repair, plus 2 extra that are redundant, that are just there in case something goes pop, and then without any downtime, I can just swap a couple of cables around. Might take an hour to do what I did yesterday, disassemble the rack, move an amp around, change the wiring, and then put it back together again. But then I'm back up and running without any downtime because I've got a bit of redundancy. Now, the quality's obviously inferior to what I had, but it doesn't matter, in that respect, for those particular channels that are nothing to do with the show, the centre channel and the rear speakers. Who cares? They're nothing to do with the functionality of the show. So I don't think any audience member's going to care that, my wife watching a movie is not going to sound as good for her. Who cares?
Agreed. But Ford versus Ferrari, it's on that system.
Yeah, that sounded great before the mono went. So that was in the week that I had the system running. Like I say, it's been several years of, another amp's broken, another amp for repair, and, jiggling it around with just missing channels, which is fine. But after watching Ford vs Ferrari, the right channel amplifier went wrong, which is one that I do use for the show and does require a good amplifier because it's a big speaker that needs lots of power. So in that case, it's like I need a certain amount of redundancy that's capable of driving the bigger speakers that I own so that there's no downtime with them. So if, for the sake of argument now, one of the amplifiers that ran the left or the right speaker popped, I could run the one that's currently on the subwoofer. Just, use one of the existing ones that's running the left and right to run the subwoofer, and then use that subwoofer amp as a left and right speaker, and that would run amplifier, and that would run the left and right, so I could monitor the show. So it means that no matter what happens, with an hour or so of jiggling around, I've always got enough redundancy in the system to keep it going in any event. I hope. He says. He says, well, it's been working for about 4 hours.
Excellent.
Oh, it does feel like Christmas and get to talk about tech stuff. Oh, so exciting. Hello, Eli.
Hey, Nathan.
No, not going to get anything out of Eli, clearly.
Yeah. Hey, I live in the city, so I gotta wait for, a reasonable time to speak. Look at that. They're honking already. Jeez. I also have my crappy mic today. I don't know if you've noticed, but the last couple of days that I've been coming on, I've had a new microphone headset. So even when I'm out here, like I have the wind guard and everything, and I don't know if you've noticed the difference, but
Yeah, it is. I want to say yes, but people don't notice if something's better or good with sound. They only notice when it's bad. So, for instance, yesterday, Neil making a crackly sound the whole time he's talking. Don't know why. That's bad, therefore gets noticed. If he didn't make that sound and sounded beautiful, no one would care. They just care when it's bad, not the other way around. But I appreciate that you are concerned with it, because being concerned with it is the way to stop it being bad.
Hold on, I am concerned. I was crackly yesterday?
Yes.
But yeah, for
What
sure.
about now?
You're fine now. I don't mention it because if you mention it while you're in the middle of a discussion about Santa Claus, suddenly a discussion about Santa Claus turns into a discussion about your crackly, crappy mic. And then the magic of the...
Hold on.
Like now, the magic
on,
gets
I know
lost.
why.
The point gets lost
I
in
know
beer rumpusing,
why.
maybe. Discussion ensues
Because
about
I know
crackly
why.
mics.
Because I have the answer. I wasn't home. I was driving. So when I'm driving, it's going in and out. Okay. It's
Yeah.
not my headphones or anything.
I'm not blaming you. I didn't think it was. It's just one of those things. Certain things I won't address because I don't think there's a solution. Or if there is a solution, it's not the appropriate moment to solve it.
The show's
anyway.
got to keep running.
You say again. Say again, Neil.
I said the show's got to keep running.
Yeah, it has. I offered Adam his projector back, and although he'd inferred that I could have it, so to speak, obviously I wanted to say, if you want it back, given it's coming up to Christmas, I'll run it up to you. And he was like, no, keep it as a spare. And when he said that, I was like, again, a wave of relief came over me. Because I've been in the position several times since having the show where the projector's gone down. And it is an absolute nightmare in those circumstances. Normally, I just order a new one at great expense. I've had to do that a couple of times. I've had a couple of new projectors since running Flat Earth shows. And yeah, it's not much fun. Having something just sat down in the corner, which it is now, waiting to be put in place if this one goes bang again, it's just a nice feeling. Having a bit of redundancy. You never think you're going to need it. Who in their right mind would ever think, yeah, I'll need a spare projector? Who thinks that? Nobody is the answer. Yeah, I'm really pleased with my setup. It's condensed into such a manner that it's foldable into the sides of the room so that this can turn back into a lounge for the kids to play in, and there's no equipment for them to damage. The camera folds up on a retractable arm that I adapted from a Versa mount, and a mic boom with all the springs on it. Well, that's what the camera's mounted on. It just folds away, tucks behind the monitor, and then that's it. The lighting the same. It's all tucked into the corners, and not... I suppose they could reach it if they wanted to, but it's obviously, in amongst electrical stuff that they shouldn't be touching, so they don't touch the lighting. The mic, the same, just sort of folds behind me into the corner, behind a keyboard on charge, not touchable. And that's it. So it means that the room's nice and flexible to work as a studio and then turn into a different room, which it has to be. It's a really small... I'm in a small apartment. So to have the room functional as it is, as a studio in as good a manner as it is, and be able to turn it back into a lounge afterwards is ace. Takes a while, but...
Hey, I got a question for you. Tell me how I should handle the situation. Are you ready?
Go on.
The guy I work for owes me a week's pay. Can't get in touch with him. Then I get a text yesterday from him finally. I mean, it's not a couple $100, $1,800 for Christmas. I could use that.
Get your Louisville Slugger.
No,
Go in
he
there
said-
with a
I've
picture
already
of
know
his
the
wife
answer.
and kids.
Hold
I already
on,
know
he
the
sends
solution.
me
I already know the
God,
solution.
you just don't want to hear what happened?
No,
He
just want to
sends
give
me
you
a
the solution off
text
the top of my head.
I'm sorry, my father passed. What do you do with that?
You come in with the Louisville Slugger, you show him a picture of his family, and then you add to that, do you want what happened to
Well,
your
what-
father to happen to them?
Yeah,
Well, Neil, what?
No.
No, I'm obviously just kidding.
Sorry to hear that.
No, he's a good payer, but, how do
But then that's
you ask
probably...
him during Christmas?
If he's not a lying scumbag, then that's probably the real reason, and you just take it as read that he'll pay you in a week's time when he's got everything sorted, because he's not in front of the pay. Is he not a dude with an accountant that pays you, though? Is it actually him that has to sign the check?
Yeah, it goes right through a payroll thing, I never really got it on the day I'm supposed to get it, and he's always behind, but I get it. I mean, he hasn't stiffed me, but I mean, it's the freaking holidays, and I haven't worked since that guy fella off the scaffold cleaning windows. That job is still shut down. So you're always a week behind. So this week is the week I'm behind that I
Tell
get,
him.
because it's holdback week.
Just tell him. I mean, it's unfortunate when people die, but life does go on. And if people are coming up to Christmas, it's 3 days before Christmas at the time of this recording. Yeah, you just need to highlight it again and say, yeah, I'm really sorry for your loss, but it's Christmas and I need money and you owe me it.
Well, Neil, what did Jesus say about this situation?
I don't know. Did
What
Jesus
would
face it?
Jesus
Did Jesus
do?
face this situation? I don't know. Did
Well,
somebody
he told us
die
how to
when
handle it.
he owed him?
Yeah, of course he did. He did
He
some
said-
carpentry work for this guy and, bought all the materials,
See,
did the job.
here's the thing. Righteous, here's the thing. I don't spiritualize everything. Some things are life. It's life. Yeah, he gave us the tools to deal with every situation, and you have compassion on people. Yes, but
Well, he's
Angela, I said to him,
simply suggesting that there's a parallel between maybe there's an answer that you could potentially work with. Ask him what the scripture is.
I'll
Ask
tell
him
you what my
Jesus said.
scripture is.
Well,
Let
you
the
didn't.
dead bury the dead.
Well, then why are
Dead
you
bury the
asking,
dead.
Neil? Well, why are you asking?
He's just
Eli,
making
I ain't hearing
conversation.
you. You told me to get a Louisville Slugger. Kind of
Well,
freaking
that was
advice is
before.
that?
That was
You would
before.
cut me off before. You wouldn't let me get the answer out. You wouldn't let me get the full question out. And you're bitching because I'm cutting off your answer? Oh, my God.
No.
Eli?
No.
This is really my fault. Well, I've been talking about amplifiers and speakers, and it's frazzled his brain, and he's gone to the first thing he wants to talk about, which is fair enough.
No. Maybe you could leave him. Do you guys talk, or are you gonna use a medium like email or something?
Let me tell you what I sent him. I said, listen, I'm sorry for your loss. I lost my mom, my dad, and my mother-in-law in less than 4 years. So I know what you're going through. Give me a call when you got it together.
That's perfect.
You
Now
can't
send
double
him.
back on that. You gotta wait now.
Now send him a video of unpaid workers destroying the job site.
Or what about an empty Christmas tree? No gifts under there.
Yeah, just leave it 24 hours because, yeah, he's got stuff to do. And then contact him back and lay it out in no uncertain terms. If he hasn't sorted it out and he's already behind by a week, and that's typically longer than usual, then yeah, just lay it out. Just say, it is Christmas. I realise you've got a lot on your plate, but there's going to be nothing on my plate if you don't pay me.
Yeah, Neil. Hey, everyone. Hey, Nathan. Just say,
Hey, bye.
condolences on the loss of your eldest son. Pay me.
You guys are heartless. Righteous.
Yeah, very.
Righteous. Let me get back to Righteous. What would Jesus do? Go ahead, give it to me.
Well, he told us, lend and asking nothing, for nothing in return.
Never a lender
No, I
or a
wasn't
borrower
lending.
be.
I was working.
Never
I
a
wasn't
lender or a
lending.
borrower be.
Yeah,
Well,
but that's not lending.
He owes you, right? It comes down into the owing part.
Okay.
You lended him your work, right?
Correct.
So yeah, I don't got the verse right in front of me right now. I'm kind of cooking breakfast, but yeah, just look up that verse and you got your answer to exactly
That was
how to handle
useless.
it.
That was rubbish, Righteous. You know that was rubbish. Just look up that verse.
You
You
know
wanna
what
look
I
it
did?
up?
You know what? You know
No,
what made Jesus?
you don't have to look it up. Let's stop this.
Hey, Nathan. You know what made Jesus the person he was? Why everybody flocked to him? Because he was a normal guy. He was a down-to-earth guy. He told them stories about a prodigal son. They could relate with Jesus. He wasn't putting a law on them.
You're
People
right.
flocked
Normal
to
guy.
him.
My mate Dave
No,
walks
but
on
I'm saying,
water and
let me
turns
give an
water into
example.
wine and
Hold,
generally
hold
heals
on, before you
lepers
give
and
an
stuff.
example,
Those are,
Yeah, you
hold
told me
on.
about Dave before.
Those are at events. Now let me get to my point. And righteous, I'm not pointing to you, so don't take offense
I
to it. Although
just
I
want
know you
to read
won't.
this so I can get back to my breakfast. Just
Okay,
let me
go
read
ahead,
this so I
read
can
it,
get
and
back
then
to
let
my
me get
breakfast.
back to what I was
Okay,
going to say.
but
Go ahead.
all right. But love ye your enemies and do good, lend, hoping for nothing again, and your reward shall be great, and ye shall be the children of the highest, for he is kind unto the unthankful and to the evil. There you go.
That has nothing to do with work. Lending is not work. I gave my services. But let me tell you why. I go to Times Square Church, right? So I see this guy one day. Times Square Church is a very, at the time it was Pastor Dave Wilkerson started it. He was the founder of all the Teen Challenge drug programs. He wrote the book, The Cross and the Switchblade. So it was a big church in the city, right in the heart of Times Square. So I run into this guy that I seen in the service on the train. So I start talking to him, and the guy was like out of space. He was just speaking in tongues, and I'm like, this is not Christianity. This guy's a zombie. That's not, attractable to me. Jesus wasn't like that.
And neither is Dave, Nathan's friend. He's not like that
No,
either.
but I'm saying you want to be an attraction, not a reproach. Jesus told them stories. Listen, there was two sons. One wanted his inheritance, and his father gave it to him. And when his inheritance was gone, he had no money. He couldn't eat. He was in a pig's pen. He said, "I'll go back." You know what I'm trying to say? And they
Now, see,
related to that.
now what you can apply that to is flat Earth.
Well, let's get it on the topic. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying what you're saying. You can relate that to flat Earth. Like instead of trying to jam flat Earth down people's throats,
What are you trying to say, Eli?
it's just I'm just saying, apply that standard to
My son?
the topic of yeah.
Yeah, but I told you, I fill you in on what's going on, but I am like the Fonz with him. He comes every day. It has never
No,
failed.
him coming at
Every
you is
day he
not
comes with stuff, and I'm like the Fonz.
nah, that's fair game. He comes at you, challenge. Yeah, I would do it every single time. Shut him down. 'Cause if he's gonna come to you about it,
Well, the thing is that the horse illustration, he's corrupting the other two horses on the farm.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Neil, Brian, Eli, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Morning.
Hey,
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you like those rainbow cookies? Beautiful, right?
They're perfectly distracting while I'm doing my intro. Thank you so much, Neil. Really, really appreciated that. Any evidence of a curved adjacent whilst acquiring an elevation angle?
nope, can't be done.
Hey, Owen.
Any evidence these will survive?
Hello.
Hello, good to have you. Anybody from Discord, as we've got a select few in there at the moment? Any rebuttals come our way in regards to the requirement to have a flat plane when measuring an elevation angle? Has anybody heard any decent rebuttals?
I have not.
I have not either. Okay. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, that's also without rebuttal.
It persists within a mathematical model.
Okay. So that's a bit like saying the War of Eternia persists in the cartoon?
Correct.
So not something we really need to concern ourselves with unless we have some fundamentalist religious belief in Eternia or in Earth Curve.
Or unless you just want to watch He-Man cartoons.
Don't bring He-Man into this. If you want to believe in Earth Curve, it exists in the maths only. Now, you can reify that maths into your physical existence and assume that the non-physical position we call the horizon, that's the not actual location where the sky appears to meet the ground or sea, is a physical geometric sphere edge obstruction to things in the distance, even though it moves with the bloody weather, then you can assume that. But it is a reification of the Earth curve that only exists in the mathematics. We don't have Earth curve horizons. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Of course, the proof is that there is no deviation.
Let me get it straight.
Yeah.
You're going to say the proof of Earth's rotation is the lack of deviation claimed to be the thing that proves Earth rotation. Okay?
I made a video last night about this, and I pointed out that even with the claim that, with their claim that their atmosphere moves lockstep with their globe out, right, in 15-degree an hour rotation, that would mean that an aeroplane taking off at position A could never get to position B, especially if it's going, let's say, starting at the east and going to west against the rotation. If it takes off at position A, it can never get to position B if it's been moved along with the atmosphere. So airplanes do go from position A at the east coast of America to position B at the west coast of America. This does happen. So if we see deviation, right, within that situation, then that's proof for rotation. But we don't see deviation because the airplane does go from A to B, from the east coast to the west coast of America. So regardless of whether there is a lockstep air in our model moving with our globe out, the airplane still has to go from A to B. And that means it has to fly against the rotation of their globe. So if there is deviation, a 15-degree an hour drift, then the globe has some proof. If there isn't, then the globe doesn't have any, and there isn't.
Correct. A turning Earth necessitates the reaction of drift. That is to say that one of the necessary consequences of the claim of a turning Earth is Coriolis deflection. That's drift. Now, it's no coincidence that the claim the globe lays down in that regard to state that they've got proof of spin is also drift. So the globe claims the globe experiences drift. And it must. Probably why it's a claim. But it doesn't. There's no demonstrable evidence that we have anything drifting. In fact, nothing is drifting. Now, when we as flat earthers point out, nothing's drifting. A globe earth that turns would necessitate and must induce drift. There isn't any. Not only that, you claim there is. You claim there's 15 degrees an hour drift. There isn't any. We then move on to the anti-flat earth rebuttal, which is to say we wouldn't expect to see drift, which is where Arwin began this.
Indeed.
That's the point of my video, because within their own anti-flat earth claim of us not expecting to see drift, I point out that within their claim, that would mean that the airplane taking off on the east coast of America could never leave that spot. But that's not what happens. It gets to the west coast of America. That means it would have to fly against the rotation. That's the only way it could get there. Because if it has to move in lockstep with their lockstep air, then it can't leave that position. It can take off and hover. That's the best it can do.
And if
There's
it gets
no
there,
such thing as lockstep air.
if it gets there with lockstep assumed, there's still an induction of drift. That's your point, right? No matter which way you dice it, they've got to have drift, and there isn't any.
Exactly, that's the whole point of it. Yeah, the whole point is that they claim this lockstep air. That's an impossibility, but they claim it. And that doesn't change anything for the airplane getting from A to B, from the east coast to the west coast of America. It does get there. We know planes do fly from the east coast to the west coast of America. That means that they have to fly against the rotation, if there was a rotation. And
Right.
now we know that there's a rotation if we see a drift, which we don't.
The globe claims that we will observe 15 degrees an hour drift as Earth turns underneath anything that isn't attached to that non-inertial claim to be turning Earth reference frame. We don't experience any drift at all. Claim debunked. Roll on anti-flat earthers tell us that we wouldn't expect to see it.
And other times when they're not talking about Coriolis, they're just affirming the consequence by saying the stars are moving, therefore we're rotating. When it could be another reason that they haven't, they just haven't validated what they're affirming in the first place.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No, that would start with a radius value of the Earth orbit.
For them it
Being
does.
measured.
Yeah, for them.
Yeah. But in general, no.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No. How could you have scientific evidence of something that you can't even harness? You can't do anything with. How could you manipulate something? To show it's the cause of something. If you can't harness it. You can't do anything. It's a nothing.
About any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, they can't have. Because their phenomena is not. They can't manipulate what they would presume to be the cause of the phenomena that they build their disciplines on.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No. P waves and S waves. That's all there is.
Yeah, they got it wrong. P waves and S waves bounced down when they did their deep borehole, or however they say it. They got it wrong. They predicted what they'd see with P waves and S waves, and the end result of what they drilled through wasn't what they predicted. So that's not a prediction. It doesn't even pad out when they're doing it.
Yeah, there was actually 4 major predictions. The 4 major predictions they made all were wrong concerning the Kola super deep borehole. Yeah, and that's only less than 8 miles down.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container for all the fundies who believe in outer space?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely not, as I said.
And people try to, like they always, because remember, we allow them to control the conversation when really that shouldn't be the case. You aren't an educator allowing the students to drive the conversation, right? So they always want to talk about Earth and what Earth does and what things do on Earth, and then they have uh, this fundamentalist religious belief that, so that's why we live on a sphere with things going toward and away from the center, because things are going down on Earth. But when you ask them, well, how does that work with the sun that's supposed to be 340 times, oh, my bad, 340 billion times the pressure of Earth? Just a ball of gas in a vacuum. How does that work? No one can answer that question.
It doesn't. It's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius?
No, it was never measured. It was only claimed to be, but never was. The people who were claimed to have measured it are also claimed to have referred to Pythagoras and his maths. The only actual, there was a claim from that Eratosthenes measured it, but he just measured a straight line, north-south distance between two locations. And then there was Al-Biruni, but he used two horizons that don't exist within his calculation. So that wasn't a measurement, obviously.
Yeah, we've only got one horizon, something that the anti-flat earthers are struggling with at the moment.
I've never seen more than one. Sorry.
Well, there is only one. It's just they need two, because the geometric horizon, the one that only exists in the maths, is Earth curve, and they want it to exist in reality. But because we've debunked it positionally and geometrically, they need to assert that it's a second non-visible position, the geometric horizon. But if it's not visible, it's not a horizon. It only exists in the maths. Earth curve only exists in the maths. There is no Earth curve.
As is admitted by all of seafaring and airline navigation. Sorry, not airline, but seafaring navigation, as their geometric horizon that they do a dip to is only mathematical, as they show in every diagram, the actual horizon and then their geometric one. You know, we don't see this geometric one ever. They've never seen it. No one ever saw it. So when they do all their corrections, they end up back up at they end up just making a horizontal line underneath that boat.
Yeah, so they can use the Cartesian coordinate system and have it function within a square box. Parallel lines to the angle measurement of whatever you're using celestial-wise, with the ground below parallel to it. 90 degrees required, straight flat baseline required. Obviously, you need two straight lines if you're measuring an angle to anything ever. So the globers, and indeed anti-flat earthers, are currently in a position where they have to utilise a flat surface to measure an angle to make any further association to anything spherical thereafter. So they have to assume it's flat first to measure an angle.
Yeah, and for how many years were navigation, mariners navigating using the sextant, how many years were they reading their manuals and their books and learning about this and seeing this geometric horizon that's underneath the actual horizon that they never see? It's just a mathematical thing. And when they correct the water corrections, they end up back up at reality.
Reality being flat, they're correcting to be on a flat baseline to make it geometrically square. That would be to say to have 90 degrees to the position at its zenith of the star that you're measuring in the sky. with the angle, creating 90 degrees, parallel lines with the sky and the ground, and your elevation angle. All of this is flat Earth. And when you're making the correction, you're bringing it in line with that flat square box.
Yeah, that's the reality is that they're creating a box. That's the reality. Where the base of that box is where our boat sits on.
It's ace. It's a really, really good flat Earth proof. And I had a QE stream in the background yesterday while I was doing other things, admittedly. But one of the things that I did overhear or pay attention to was when he said that ultimately when the Black Swan was born, when that argument came out, the sextant argument immediately was born also within that argument. Now, he did mention in the very first presentation about elevation angles. Obviously, it wasn't connected as strongly as it has been through 10th Man and yourself in recent times. But he was right. I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, the moment you debunked their geometric sphere edge Earth curve horizon, the implications that followed with the elevation angle that's required to navigate around were obvious now that I think about it. I'm sure QE recognised that because I'm sure he had it in part of the presentations. But like I say, it didn't register. And even when it had the implications having to be overcome by conspiracy cats with him saying, I'll give you a flat Earth because he's measuring an angle, it still didn't sink in. But when you get down to, it being drip-fed by 10th Man over a few months, and then, the crescendo with the sextant trap at the end of it, and people deciding that they don't even need the dip correction, they're just going to use a bubble sextant or artificial horizon, it's like, well, definitely flat Earth then, definitely parallel, definitely just the 90, no correction for Earth curve needed at all, if you're claiming that dip's Earth curve, which it isn't. There isn't one. It's just the flat baseline then. And it only works because it's going to be parallel with whatever you're measuring in the sky. So no corrections. Yeah. That, for me, was like the icing on the cake. When Bob walked into that trap.
Well, if you remember some months ago, I made a short video, and I had to make a second one because the short video was so simplistic that the bowlers couldn't understand it. So I had to make I made a 3-minute video, and then the next day I had to make a 15.5-minute video because they couldn't get it. And the name of my video, although it wasn't about sextant, it's connected to it because the name of my video is Triangle Shape Debunks the Globe. Debunks Globe Model, I think it is. It's like, and I got a huge amount of backlash they came at me like crazy over it. It's like, because it was obviously touching a nerve. This simple shape debunks your whole claim.
You ever notice that when there's something absolutely devastating, and half the time when these things come out, I'll give another different example. Before the Black Swan came out, other people had put out imagery that was the same and made the same claim and even identified the horizon as being beyond where it should be. Now, they haven't put together a modus tollens argument or stressed the implications that would lead to, but they've pointed it out, and you'd see hundreds of thumbs down and loads of disdain, and you kind of wonder, why would it be the case that this has developed that reaction unless the people who are reacting in that way appreciate how devastating it is and therefore need to put the kibosh on it? In other words, over-egg the pudding when they come down with their furious anger about how wrong you are and how stupid you are because you're showing this devastating point. But then, like I say, when it comes to things like the sextant, it can be pointed out by you with your video pointing out that triangles debunk the globe, because presumably if you're trying to get a 90-degree angle to anything in triangulation, right, that was your point. That back then it is the same argument, Brian, but it doesn't have the might of a whole load of other people who are all getting the point. So over the last couple of weeks, there's been people from the Discord server who've said, yeah, I've been out bashing people here, there and everywhere with this. And then, yesterday somebody else recited the argument back to us that they've been bashing people's over the head with, in terms of the elevation angle and the curved adjacent and the 3 questions we can put to people in this regard. So with a load of people around you getting the point, which I certainly wasn't one of them when I watched that video, which I do remember actually, Brian, but it didn't sink in. And now it is. For a lot of people, it seems the case that they get the argument.
Yeah, well, I was actually attacking Al-Biruni with that. I was attacking the Al-Biruni claim with that, about how he had no triangles, no real triangles. When it came to the actual Earth, using the actual Earth, he had no triangles. He had to make, he ended up with a melted triangle a melted pizza. It's like a pizza slice. That's what he ended up with. You know, for his what he would be seeing in reality. He had two other triangles working in places he couldn't see that mean absolutely nothing, using horizons that don't exist. But when it came to what he would see in reality, he had a melted pizza triangle. So we know that's not reality. So I was working. It was more attack. It was attack on the whole Black Swan thing. I was using it for, but it got a lot of backlash. And the reason is because they know deep down, they know now, and they knew then, and it seems they've always known that all their claims are a load of rubbish.
Yeah, I think there's a small faction of people with a bunch of sock accounts, the higher echelons of anti-flat earthers, that are very much in the know about where the problems lie in their own argument. And when they see somebody getting close to exposing that, they have to put it down, they have to ridicule it, and you can only react in that way if you know that there's a problem. In other words, the more stupid anti-flat earther won't recognise some of these pieces of evidence in the same way the publisher often doesn't recognise the devastating implications of what they're presenting. I'm guilty of it as well. When I was talking about Robin Poe the other day, you discuss your flat earth proof but don't labour the point that's actually being made. You sort of giggle about it when you both have a kind of in-joke about how that proves it's flat. In the case of the transmission with Robin Poe, that wasn't stressed. And if you've got a piece of evidence like a horizon beyond a geometric limitation, you don't know that summary in that concise form to put it in that way. You just go, look at where the horizon is. It's much further than it would be on a globe Earth. And that's as much as you say. Not, this devastates the notion of a globe model in its entirety because you can't be beyond a geometric limitations of a physical edge. That debunks the entire model. But if you don't stress that and you don't know, you just end up with a load of commenters saying, you're a stupid idiot, you don't know what this means, there's refraction. And again, if you don't know the argument from the flat Earth side, you don't know that their refraction needs are, and you pointing out the horizon's not where it's supposed to be, debunks the geometry that attain are from. Again, you've got to have a good understanding of these arguments to know the implications. And if you don't, which I think our opponents do, then you're just going to have the opponent who does recognise the danger telling you how stupid you are, because that's when the ridicule needs to come out in full force. But like I say, if you don't recognise the danger as the opponent, that would be anti-flat earthers, you're not going to recognise where you need to put the pressure on, and the ridicule needs to be laid on nice and thick, etc., etc. So there is a faction of people who oppose us that do know their own argument and how poor it is. Now those people, I'm talking to you guys, you know who you are. Yeah? Yeah, you know it's flat too, don't you? Yeah, I know that you know. Yeah, we all know, don't we?
I was going to say, I think when we say they don't understand the argument, we can't say that no more, because they do. And I believe you're right, Nathan. They know. I'm still trying to figure out what a melted slice of pizza looks like.
Well, further to the Al-Biruni point that was being made by Brian, he's actually got to acquire H, that would be the height of the mountain, for his trig, when he's using the dip measurements to do the trig to get R. Well, he's got to get H. That's the height of the mountain. And how does he get H, Brian? I won't steal your glory.
He needs an elevation angle.
Oh, he needs an elevation. A bit like one of the housekeeping questions. How can he have an elevation angle with a curved adjacent?
You can't.
So what did he do?
Oh, dear.
So what did he do? What did Al-Biruni do? Given that he needs H, he's using triangulation to get H. How does he do it if he can't have a curved adjacent? That's a curved surface. That's an earth curve beneath his feet when measuring the height of the mountain. What did he actually do, Brian?
He did it all on a flat plane.
He measured the height with the angle on a flat plane. He then climbed the mountain and derived how spherical that surface he got the height from, being flat, was. So he curved the surface he just used as flat to get the height of the mountain. So he first, like with the current housekeeping question, had to assume a flat earth. So he measures the height of the mountain off a flat earth. So he can later get an R value and curve the very ground he used as flat to get the height of the mountain. So it was flat first.
Oh, wow, that's...
Did you not know that, whoever that was? Go ahead, whoever that was from Discord.
Please,
Yeah,
right,
I was just
tell me
surprised what you were saying. I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were saying it was flat first, but then, go on.
Yeah, so he gets his angle to get h, to do the trig to get the height. Well, when he does that, he's got a flat earth beneath his feet to measure that triangle. So Al-Biruni measures the height on a flat earth, then climbs the mountain, and with his h value for the height of the mountain, he can measure the dip versus a 90 degree, assuming he's got a sphere beneath him. Bearing in mind he's just measured a flat plane to get height of mountain. So he had to assume it was flat first, to then assume it was a sphere that he was deriving r from, with a dip to a horizon that's not physical anymore. So when he does his dip trig, he's got a physical horizon that's geometric. Well, we don't have one of them, do we? Al-Biruni wasn't measuring a physical geometric sphere edge earth curve horizon to get dip from it. No, that moves with the weather now, doesn't it? So he was measuring it flat to get the height of the mountain, and then using a non-physical, non-geometric, assumed to be geometric by Al-Biruni horizon to derive r.
Oh wow, that's quite something. I guess I didn't know that.
He had no choice.
It's flat. Earth's flat.
That's what I'm saying. He had no choice.
And that's the problem everyone else has got now. You want to assert it's a sphere, and you're going to start measuring things on the surface. Well, you need it to be flat to measure the angle, don't you? So did Al-Biruni. Go on, whoever it is.
Sorry, Nathan. But they're moving away from the surface now. They don't want to go near the surface.
That's their claim. So we've won, Neil. Their claim is surface of Earth curved. What's that you say they don't want to talk about the surface at the moment? Yes, because we've won. It's game over. They don't want to talk about the surface because their surface curves and they can't get an angle from it. So we've won.
Well, there's still
Earth's
one
flat.
rebuttal
We've
left,
won.
though.
We've won. We disproved Earth sphere, Earth curve, Earth edge, blocking boats and buildings. The horizon's not Earth curve. That was debunked in 2020. Further to that, everything you actually do in terms of functionality, navigation, measurements, building, it's all done flat.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Over the years, when we brought up subjects, like I remember, I didn't create the modus tollens argument like QE did, but I did use the horizon argument back in 2016 and 17. I remember using it against people with the J. Tolan media photograph of Mount San Jacinto, 120 miles away from where his location. And where is the horizon? Where is this horizon that things are supposed to be going over? And I got silence, absolute silence. But then when the triangle debunks globe model video, things like that, gets rage. So if you get silence or rage, anytime we got silence or rage over the years, that means we were over the target. And they knew it. And that tells us everything we need to know about them. That they know it's not what they say it is. And they have to be credible liars.
Got Phil Bell in the chat telling us that we misunderstood how Al-Biruni measured the height of the mountain. Let's just bring up... Hold on, it's okay. I'm on the case. Let's bring up an explanation. First result on Wiki, or on Google. See if I can make this look a little bit prettier. Bear with me just 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves.
So we don't understand again? That's the rebuttal. We don't understand.
Yeah, well, this doesn't change the geometric horizon being a mathematical location. You know what I mean? Whatever argument that Phil wants to have about how the height of the mountain was obtained, which has to have been through angles, which need elevation angles, which require a horizontal baseline. It doesn't matter because this geometric horizon and astronomical horizon that were used by Al-Biruni don't exist.
Sorry, Brian. It's on screen now for Phil Bell. Here's the calculation. Here's the measurement. Here is the flat baseline used for elevation angle when measuring the height of the mountain. Here is a 90 degree for the... Oh, what do you know? The measurement tool very similar to the one we're using in this explanation of how Al-Biruni used his classic method of assuming Earth is flat to get the height of the mountain, Phil Bell. There it is. It's pretty straightforward. He used a flat
Phil
Earth to
Bell's
measure
in
the
pain.
height. I don't know what Phil thinks we're misunderstanding. No, Phil. No, he definitely used a flat plane to measure the height of the mountain. That's a fact you'll have to cope with as a globe-believing fundy. Like with the elevation angle in the housekeeping question, Al Bruni's got the exact same problem. He's got to assume it's flat first, so you don't have to like it.
Phil's in pain, Nathan. He's
I
in
know,
pain.
bless him, bless him. That's all right. Yeah, Al Bruni had to assume it was flat first. It's very well documented. Enjoy the aftertaste. Earth's flat. You have to measure it flat, you build on it flat, you assume it's a flat plane even if you've got a spherical presupposition. Tangent planes, you call them. Yeah, they're still flat though. Doesn't matter that you've got a fundy presupposition that it's a flat disco ball-based flat Earth with edges that we never experience. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's still flat. That's how the Earth actually operates. Obviously, observably, navigatably, measurably flat. Go ahead, whoever from
Nathan.
Discord.
We got Highlander. I think he may want to present something. I'll post this thing in Skype. I don't know if he wants to present that or not.
Sure.
But Highlander, you're off mute. You can talk.
Wow, that's a blast from the past. What's up, fellas?
Hey, chocolate.
Hello, chocolate.
Yo.
Well,
Good
he
morning,
did say
people.
take me off mute.
Right,
Highlander, you're off mute. You should be able
what
to
I've got
talk.
is this: it. Measure the shadow cast from the mountain on a sunny day. Measure the angle of the shadow. You're going to need flat baseline for that.
Angle.
Highlander.
That's
First sentence. Second sentence, my bad. Measure the angle of the shadow. Can you explain how you can do that with a curved adjacent, please? I'll ask again.
I don't know if he's having technical issues or
Don't
something.
care. In his description, he describes measuring an angle. I'd like to know how he did that with a curved adjacent.
At the base of the mountain, how far away from the base of the mountain has to be flat and straight for you to get an angle?
So flat and straight then? So it's flat and straight. Ouch. How did you measure that angle with a curved adjacent given your claim is a globe Earth? Third time asking.
Well, all I'm asking is...
No, I'm asking.
How far
No, I'm
from
asking.
The base,
Hello?
how far from the base...
So flat, yes, we heard the first time.
According to...
We heard the first time chanting fuckwit. Yeah, how flat? Yeah, flat. We know, measuring an angle requires a flat baseline. I've asked you how you can measure that angle with a curved adjacent. Fourth time asking.
I just showed you how they work it out, yeah?
Work it out,
But
measure
according
it.
to
The
you-
angle. Third, fourth, fifth time. How do you measure the angle you mentioned in the second sentence with a curved adjacent? Fifth time.
The land at the base of the mountain is not curved.
So
Yeah?
flat then. Thank you. Welcome to Flat Earth, Highlander. Not curved, as your claim would imply, given that you are a globe-believing fundy idiot. You think it's curving, though, don't you? So welcome to Flat Earth. You're telling me how flat it is. Yes, we know that. And Al Bruni had to measure it flat. I'm asking you, given that your claim is it's curved, how you can measure that angle with a curved adjacent. Sixth time. So it's just flat, is the answer. Yeah, we know.
Hold on. 2 seconds.
Pardon? Do you need the question again, Highlander?
I'm just going to post the answer to you.
Just tell me. How can you measure an angle with a curved adjacent? Seventh time.
Measurements of I don't know, don't know how to pronounce that.
Hello, stuttering, mumbling globe believer. How do you measure this angle you described? Second sentence of your...
Angle. Yeah, I've posted the first page of the document. But yet all the maths in this document would be way beyond you, so you wouldn't be able to...
So don't ad hom me, you fuckwit. How dare you? What a wanker. Don't ad hom me. Like it be beyond me.
Well,
what are you talking about?
To work out.
Sorry, what exactly in the document describes how you can measure the angle described in the second sentence of the first thing you posted? How do you measure that angle with a curved adjacent? I think that's the seventh or eighth time.
Well, who said the land at the base of the mountain is curved?
You globe-believing retard! So it's not curved then, it's flat, correct?
But my house is built on a hill. Does that mean this whole hill
Earth,
is flat?
we're talking about Earth. Do you think you're going to get away with that, you stupid retard? Who's claiming the ground on the mountains on is curved? You!
No, I never said that.
So it's flat then? You're not saying the ground the mountain's on is curved. So welcome to flat Earth. So the ground the mountain's on's flat, like we say then.
Right, so the ground that the mountain is on is flat.
Thank you. Welcome to flat Earth. That was a declaration of how flat the Earth is from a globe believer. Yes, that's correct, Highlander. The ground the mountain on is flat.
Right, so because the car park outside...
So why are you going on to explain about something about car parks? So, the ground the mountain on, flat. Correct, Highlander? That's the end of your time in this discussion. You're here to claim it's a globe. You're here to claim that the surface is curving under the mountain. But you're declaring, as we declare, that it's flat.
Your logic is the floor in my kitchen is flat, therefore the earth is flat. That's your...
No. You're telling us the ground under the mountain is flat. That's what you're telling me, and now you're telling me what my logic is? It's your declaration that the ground's flat, and now you're telling me what my logic is. No, you've told us the ground's flat. Welcome to Flat Earth. Thank you for telling me how flat the ground Don't rumpus me, you fuckwit clown. How dare you? It's not my logic. You've just told me how flat the ground under the mountain is. Thank you for your logic, your declaration of just how flat Earth is. Thank you. Welcome to Flat Earth. How do my balls taste, Highlander? Are they salty with you telling me with your implied logic how flat it is under the mountain? Tell me again how flat it is.
I never said...
You stuttering clown, bitch! You're like every other globe believer here, reduced to stuttering and mumbling like a complete clown while I teabag your dumbass after you've told me how flat the Earth is. You've just told me in a live audience that the ground under the mountain's flat and all you've got to do is rumpus and stutter like a bitch being teabagged. Yeah, so while you lie dying, how do my balls taste, Highlander?
You're a fucking liar.
Yeah. I've won. I've got my opponent, that's you in this instance, to tell me how flat Earth is.
I never said the Earth...
You told me how flat it was under the mountain. Welcome to Flat Earth was the response. Then you tried to tell me how my logic inferred that. When you told me, based on your inferred logic, how flat it was under the mountain.
Right, again... Tell me lie to me and tell me what I said. Yeah.
You said the ground under the mountain's flat. That's what you said, basically verbatim. That is what you said. As a result, you got welcome to Flat Earth after telling us how flat it was under the mountain, like Al-Biruni measured.
No. I never said anything about under the mountain, Nathan. Yeah? Stop making...
All right, well, Al-Biruni's trying to derive this square box from a refracted line that he no longer has thanks to the Black Swan. But to get there, he used this formula and measured the height on a flat plane. That is what Al-Biruni did. Now, Highlander is an inconsequential fuckwit. Now, nobody cares what you've done. Meanwhile, Al-Biruni measured the height off a flat plane.
Yeah, I don't know if what you're stating there, Highlander, has anything to do with what Al-Biruni actually even did. Because it's like you're coming in, telling us about angles again, the very thing that was the problem for you.
Shut the fuck up, you chanting fundy bitches in the middle of a sentence, you total coward. You've got nothing to say but stuttering nonsense, and then when Brian's talking, you feel that you can interject with your horseshit globe belief nonsense after declarations of our flat-eaters under the mountain while he's mid-sentence. Shut your dumb mouth, shut up. You hear me? Shut up.
I never said that.
Shut up! You dumb globe-believing idiot. You're having a strip torn off you. Now shut your dumb mouth, sit down, and understand how we're going to discuss your declaration of our flat-eaters under the mountain, in line with Al-Biruni's measurement of a flat baseline for the mountain. Now sit down and shut up. Shout out to
Again,
Retro
I
Bill.
never said that.
He can't shut up. Yeah, he's so triggered that he cannot shout. He can't sit there and listen to me shouting out one of my contributors to the show. He's got to talk non-stop. Either you shut up while I shout out this super chat, or you'll be removed, Highlander. Those are your choices. Shout out to Retro. Right, get the fuck out of my show. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of my show.
Really poor showing, Highlander.
Yeah.
Sad.
Now he needs to chant, cause Discord rumblings, descend the show into a shit show so it's unlistenable. Yeah? Because he's lost badly, so he will not shut up. Yeah, well, I'll shut you up, bitch. Now you can fuck off. Get off my show, come back tomorrow when you're not so triggered about the flat earth you declared. Shout out to Retro Bill for smashing the super chat. Really appreciate the support, Retro Bill. Thank you very much indeed. Let's just scroll back. So, or is it scroll down? We shall see. Scroll down.
Hashtag thanks Highlander.
My chat's going a bit schizoid, so thank you for reading it out. We'll get there in the end, I'm sure. There we go. And there it goes. Bye-bye.
What if the baseline of the baseline of some mountains is 22 miles? I just looked it up. So 22 miles of flat? Thank you very much.
He's like, who claimed the surface is curved? You?
Yeah.
Like, are y'all feeling all right?
Then he's going to use his house. Okay, yeah, good example.
He always does, though. Every time he's come on in the past, he's always brought up, oh, I live behind a hill, and this and that. Like, come on, bro. You came in, you didn't even know your own argument, and you snatched your own wig off with your first statement. So I don't know what's wrong with you guys, man. And you've been gone this long? This is sad.
He was an example of one of the dumb ones that deep down knows it's flat, even if it's at a subconscious level. Doesn't realise he knows it's flat, but knows that he's experiencing some pain that needs to be alleviated somehow. But ultimately he's going to come here and tell us, well, don't you realise it's completely flat under the mountain?
Yeah, like, it's more of, this is another way that things may have happened. It's one of these things, isn't it? It's like, they're coming in with some claim. It's like, well, has this, have you any evidence for a start that this is what Al-Biruni actually did? Number one, does it sit in line with any historical documentation on it? Number one. Number two, is you're using angles within your own version or whatever this is. So that's the same thing. You're missing the point. It's like, you have to kind of tell us, it's like, well, it needs to be this much flat so we can make it into this much curved. This kind of thing. It's locally flat, tangent plane. It's all this nonsense again. That's all it is, isn't it?
Yeah, a way of actually coping with the fact that the Earth is flat so they can measure it and do stuff, build stuff, or navigate. But then have a way of justifying how spherical it is thereafter? Well, no. Just cope with the fact it's flat. And you can't get around that if you're measuring angles. You've got to have a flat baseline. You can't get an elevation angle if you're utilising a curved adjacent. So when you point that out, that's like, who's claiming we've got a curved adjacent? That would be Earth being a sphere. You are, crazy idiot. But when you can't have curved surfaces to Earth to do anything, who's claiming it? I mean, why would I be claiming that Earth's got a curved surface to it? Well, because you've got a fundamentalist religious belief that Earth's a sphere. We're just showing you how it isn't, and then cognitively you've got to deny that, haven't you? A bit like Tim Osmond denying that anybody claims the horizon's Earth curve. You've got to deny who's going to claim the surface is curved. Who would claim such nonsense? You globe-believing idiot.
Yeah, it was pointless. It was pointless. Got him coming in, to be honest, because it was just as soon as the word angle came into it, that was the end of that. That's the whole point. That's what was the point we're making about Alberoni, that he needed an angle. Well, it doesn't matter what the angle is supposed to be measuring. Once you're using an angle, that's the end of that.
Yep, and he knew it. So it was the end of his argument before he began. That's why I had to give him 7 repetitions of how can you measure an angle with a curved adjacent. He never answered, by the way. Anybody who thinks I'm unreasonable after 7 repetitions of the very housekeeping question that's introduced recently to be asked in this regard, he didn't answer. 7 repetitions. Then it descended into Discord chaos as he tried to chant through every single person that spoke. Me, Brian, it didn't matter.
Well, he did say the way they worked it out. You understand the working out? There's always a working out.
But the way they got around the tricky fact that they had to measure an angle off a flat baseline. They worked it out after. Yeah, after they assumed it was flat. That's our point.
And he's at home to you, Nathan, about the mathematics. I mean, that was where he really went wrong.
The math, Nathan.
Yeah, it's where he really went wrong, because there's 2 problems there. Number one, he was just insulting you. Number one. But number 2, he was admitting that they needed a ridiculous amount of mathematics to get around this problem of a very basic triangle. You know, in reality, it's just a triangle, but for them, it needs to be a massive amount of mathematical gymnastics to get around this, for it to be still a globe in their heads. Sorry, John.
The greatest part about that is that he told Nathan, "Oh, this math is beyond you," when his very argument was beyond him. And literally had to say, "Oh, I'll post the document." And when we said, "Well, why don't you just tell us?" "Oh, you guys are just liars." This is pathetic. Like, this is how y'all gonna end the year, Globers? It's just getting worse and worse and worse, man. This is horrible.
Well, Chocolate,
but thanks a lot.
Look at this, Chocolate. We brought it down to a 3rd grader could know. All you got to do is know about triangles. And it seems like these anti-flat earthers, they don't know anything about triangles. They have to go back to 3rd grade.
Yeah, they'll never defeat our geometric argument with their mathematical argument. Can never be defeated.
Right, they've got to get around it, as you put it. Well, I don't care how they get around it once they've measured an angle, because they've assumed Earth's flat to do so. So everything starts with it flat. Well, you can introduce your begging the question fallacy of an R value and an assumption that things are curving when you've measured it flat, all you like, but it only exists in your maths at that point, because it doesn't exist in the reality that you've measured, and that's a flat baseline, a flat Earth. So I don't care how you get around it after you've measured the angle, which is why I asked him the question, how'd you get a curved adjacent to work with an angle that you've measured in this first statement? You don't. You've got to assume it's flat. That's the be-all and end-all of this argument. And you think I'm going to let anybody waffle on about how they take that angle to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth and it basically coincides with an angle to an infinitely distant star? Well, you measured an angle, didn't you, on the surface? So you had 2 straight lines, so I don't give a crap about anything hereafter. You measured 2 straight lines on a flat surface. So to make any of these claims hereafter, you needed a flat surface angle measurement to do it. Well, that's it. That proves it's flat. Share your pain, fundies. Share your pain. I'm talking to the smarter ones now, not the Highlander ones that are too dumb to realise that they're literally telling us that the line underneath the mountain's flat like being shown, and why would I even claim that it wasn't flat? Yeah, that's the dumb ones. The ones that aren't so dumb wouldn't make such stupid declarations, but they know that they've got to measure an angle off a flat plane. I mean, I'm talking specifically about people like conspiracy cats. You have to think about it and go, how can I get around this tricky, awkward situation where I'm going to measure an elevation angle to make a claim that I'm going to say is only provable on a sphere surface? I'll tell them that I'm giving it them, the flat earthers, first. I'm letting you have your flat Earth first so I can measure this angle. So that means he's thought about it, doesn't he? He knows it's a bit of a problem. Yeah, that's going to keep you up at night. The smarter ones, that is. The dumber ones don't really know what's happening. They just know how to talk through everybody and cause chaos when they lose. The smarter ones know that when they see somebody who presents a horizon beyond geometric limitation, that person needs ridicule quick, because that's a dangerous situation that might expose the very flimsy nature of the heliocentric reality that they're trying to tell everyone they should believe in. Because they don't believe in it. You know you don't believe in it, because you know where it's wrong, like I know where it's wrong. And you know that where it's wrong needs to be quashed and subdued. Now, if you didn't know why it was wrong and why it needed subduing, you wouldn't have a problem. But you have, haven't you? Because you know where your argument fails as well. The smarter ones on the anti-flat Earth side really are genuinely sharing their pain and doing everything they can to alleviate their pain and hope that no one notices. Well, I've noticed. I know, and you know. And you know I know, and I know you know I know. Share your pain.
It's unfair to ask a glober for a flat baseline or anything when you know it's all measured flat. That's unreasonable.
Yeah, can't we just move on to the bit where we've already measured the angle on a flat baseline, and then we assume that the angles actually come from the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth and the distant infinite stars are going to give us pretty much the same angle to the centre of that tiny little sphere that I've now assumed the Earth is? Can't we just do that? Let's ignore the measurement of the angle on a flat baseline. Let's just move straight to the bit where we put that angle at the middle of a sphere. Come on, it's not reasonable to not do that.
Can we now move on?
Yeah, we can all move on with our happy sphere life and forget about the fact we measured an angle on a flat baseline. It came from the centre, really.
Yeah, Christmas is like the Christmas decorations are balls. They're not just a bunch of flat discs you hang, on the tree. That's my argument now.
Great argument.
I got nothing else, sorry.
I know. It's okay. I wasn't expecting anything else, Arwin. They've got nothing either at the moment. Their best shot at the moment literally has been Highlander telling us, why would I be assuming that it's got a curved surface beneath? I've never said that. Who's claiming it's got a curved surface? Nobody claims the horizon's got a physical Earth curve edge claim against it. I mean, who's claiming that other than all globe believers? Who's claiming the Earth's got a curved surface other than all globe believers? I'm not claiming that, given that I can't have one in this scenario. Who's going to claim that? Shout out
it's only
to...
a little bit flat.
Say again, Brian?
Yeah, I'm just saying, sorry, it's only a little bit flat.
It's only a little bit flat. Tangent plane, it's just flat for whatever we're working on at that moment. Doesn't mean it's not spherical. Tangent, right? Tangent to a sphere. Flat plane sat on a sphere. Of course, Brian, I know that. God, what do you think I am? Shout out to Godzilla37 who says, Merry Christmas, Nathan and the panel. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, I'm gonna fall back to the retort. You know it's a sphere because it looks so flat. Because what else are you gonna do?
Know and understand that it's flat and you've been lied to. Sorry, Chocolate, go ahead.
No, I was just returning the Merry Christmas to whoever that was. I didn't hear.
Shout out to Theo Megawarty, who says, how would you take an angle measurement from a curved adjacent or give a physical location of an apparent position? Globers, 2021. Proof of evolution. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Theo Megawarty. Really appreciate it. And happy Christmas to all in the chat and to the panel for that matter. Haven't been really saying it, but there will be more shows between now and Christmas.
Would anyone dare
Awesome.
imply that Santa Claus isn't real?
The idea of Santa Claus is real. I've actually got that trimmed out from yesterday's pre-show. That comes out on Christmas Eve. So I've called it the Santa Claus Conspiracy, A Dark Side of Christmas. And it's basically 10 or 15 minutes of us talking about our thoughts on Santa. Now, I assumed I'm pretty damn sceptical about Santa. You know, I don't leave my kids with any illusions that he's actually real. They know it's a fantasy, it's make-believe, it's pretend. But I still go along with it. You know, I'm still taking them to see the Santa shows and stuff. But then I found out that the rest of my panel deeply sceptical about Santa Claus.
what are you guys talking about? I mean, what are you fantasy? You're the one with the fantasy. You know how big a lie that would have to be if he wasn't real? You know how many people celebrate Christmas because of good old Saint Nick, who delivers all of those Christmas toys
And
in
that's
one night?
Yeah, all those
Nah.
Eli,
actors with all
No,
the
I'm not
suits
buying it.
on.
Hold
That's
on.
impossible.
problem.
No.
Let me explain it. Let me explain it real quick. See, it's
All the
always
actors.
it's always to take the glory away from Jesus. It's Jesus' birth, the Savior of the world. So let's have
Oh,
this Coca-Cola
No.
product called Santa
Neil.
Claus. If you break it down, it's
Blah,
Satan's
blah, blah.
cause.
We're talking about
Satan's
Santa
cause
now.
to take away the glory of the birth of Christ, just like the
We're
Easter
talking
Bunny
about
takes
an
We're
away.
ad
talking about
populum
Santa now.
fallacy.
Okay, shout out to Physics Traveller who says, Happy Festivus et al.
I'm telling you how I was told.
Thank you for
I'm
the
gonna
super
tell
chat.
yous.
Anyway, Neil, we're talking about the ad populum fallacy. You're taking it away from that point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah, the idea is that you argue
I didn't hear
within.
that.
Let me just explain to Neil. The idea is that you argue with Eli within the ad populum fallacy. So I would say next, for example, within the fallacy, well, no, because if Santa was real, you'd have some sort of tracking on him by now. They'd be able to watch him fly around the earth, wouldn't they, Eli? And Eli says they can. They've got the tracker. It's actually the ISS.
Now Santa
I
has
was
to be
just explaining it.
Santa has to be real because otherwise there would be two. Look at all the actors. That can't be. There can't be that many actors.
We're
all
talking about
acting
Santa,
like
are we?
Santa Claus.
Rumpus, rumpus.
What?
We're not talking about that. We're talking about Santa.
Yeah, I am talking about Santa.
No, you were talking
But we're
about.
not talking about the people who dress up like Santa. We're talking about the actual Santa that delivers the actual toys on Christmas Eve.
What?
That guy, that's who we're talking about.
You're saying they're not all Santa? But then how does he deliver all those presents? Just by himself?
Yes, just
Well,
I
by
mean, he
himself.
has to be
Get
like a
under the
cloned
tree.
person, right?
They don't get under the tree by themselves. Obviously, someone's doing it. So it's got to be Santa. Duh.
I looked
Because
this up
who else
actually.
is like,
In
Yeah, but they have
Santa
to all be
lore,
real.
Santa got hold of one of those quills from Sonic the Hedgehog. That's how he does it. No Sonic the Hedgehog fans? Fair enough.
yeah,
Boo.
he has a sleigh and reindeer that pull him faster than the speed of sound. So what's the problem? Sonic boom.
Oh.
Boom boom. What?
Well, the problem is not attaining speed. The problem is slowing down again and then doing that 6 billion times.
Okay, on that note of Santa Claus physics, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the PayPal link, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video. Shout out to Sleeping Warrior, who says, at Nathan Oakley, you can literally track the Santa sleigh on New Year's Eve, you moron.
For Jesus. So
Unless we can also track something else, eh?
Oh, yeah? What's that? Who have you got
Well, I just said
tracking
they
on? Have you got some ex-girlfriend that you've slipped an Apple button thing in their handbag or something righteous?
I don't get it. I don't know what you mean.
Well,
That's
don't
not a
leave us
no.
hanging.
That's
What
not a
else
firm
you
denial.
tracking?
Very suspicious.
Who can you track? Righteous?
Anybody, if you've got a good sleight of hand. You thinking of tracking your son? Making sure he's going to the right Flat Earth events and so forth?
Well, he only has to have a mobile, that's all.
He's home. What do you mean? He's upstairs. He goes upstairs to downstairs.
That's what you think.
Yeah, we weren't home yesterday. The little guy had to go to the dentist, so the two middle guys are home alone. Who knows what the heck went on, right?
They made a movie about that. It's a Christmas movie. It's called Freddy Krueger
So-
Part 6.
Hey, Nathan, so is The Godfather considered a Christmas movie because the Don got an assassination attempt during Christmas. So they consider The Godfather a Christmas movie. With 5 shots. We hit him with 5 shots and he's still alive.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like saying Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Die Hard
They
is
do.
a Christmas
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
They do.
Die Hard is a Christmas
No,
movie.
it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
It's not a
They're having a Christmas party.
movie.
It is Christmas.
Yeah, that's-
He's there for Christmas.
Nathan's right.
It's
the
a Christmas
movie
movie.
is taking place during Christmas, but it's not a Christmas movie.
They
A
consider
Christmas
it a
Story
Christmas
is a
movie.
Christmas movie.
No, chocolate.
the
You don't
the
understand.
Santa Claus is a Christmas
You
movie.
don't understand.
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
Die Hard.
No, wait.
I don't agree with
Best
that.
Christmas
Nathan,
movie
Nathan,
ever.
Nathan.
I agree with Neil. The Matrix that's about to come out is definitely a Christmas movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Why?
Nathan, break
Well,
it
hold
down
on.
for them. Why
Hold
Die Hard
on.
is a
Release
Christian
date?
movie?
No, I'm not having that. Release date's got nothing to do with whether it's a Christmas movie, and the setting and that's got everything to do with it. So Die Hard is a Christmas movie because it's set at Christmas, and there's various Christmas
That's right.
aspects to it. Ho ho ho!
But it's-
He puts on the guy's T-shirt after he shoots him down and tries to steal his very small shoes.
Yeah, I get that, but that's because it's happening during Christmas. But the movie itself isn't about Christmas.
So
like
what?
a movie, like, what do you mean? So what?
That's not how they're rating it, Chocolate. They're
Christmas
rating
movies are
Christmas
rarely about
movies
Christmas.
No,
that
you don't.
come out
Well,
and
actually,
play on
that makes no
TV.
difference.
if you
Doesn't have
knew,
to be
Yeah,
about
there's an
Christmas.
important detail. Do you know what the working title of Die Hard was? It was called Die Hard at Christmas. Not a lot of people know that because I made it up myself.
I'm pretty sure you did.
Listen, The Godfather.
It's
Michael's
consensus
walking.
based.
Michael's walking
Oh, here we
across
go.
the newspaper.
We know
stand
the scene. He
and
gets
asking
shot. It's
Kay what he
Christmas.
wants. No, he finds out. He grabs
Yep.
the paper, and it's
Can we hear
snowing.
what chocolate?
He's asking what she wants for Christmas.
Neil,
Christmas
you're not going to
movie.
convince me that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. You think you're going to convince me that Godfather is a Christmas movie now? Are you serious?
That's what I'm telling you what they
Like, what
say.
are you talking
Okay.
about?
Okay, you see
Let's-
what plays on the
Look at my
telly
screen.
during Christmas week.
Look at my
Let's hear
screen,
what-
guys.
What are you streaming?
Let's hear what chocolate had to say about what a Christmas movie is. We don't know
Look,
what his position
Halloween
Look
is
is.
what it
Christmas
says.
movie as well.
Look what it says on my screen.
What does it say?
See, it's consensus
Die
driven.
Hard.
If everybody thinks it's a
Yo,
Christmas
Arwen.
movie, it's a Christmas movie.
Go ahead, Eli.
You guys are retarded. Yo, if you're looking at my
Christmas.
screen that I'm sharing,
Sorry.
that I'm telling you guys to look at, Die
I
Hard,
see
a
it.
Christmas movie. I didn't even type the whole thing. It said it by itself. Die Hard, a Christmas movie. There you go.
Because somebody's
Yep.
having this very fierce debate right now somewhere.
Wait, Godfather? The Godfather's not in there?
Christmas.
Are you kidding me?
It's,
Well, why
it's
don't you
Christmas
type it
is
into
heavily-
a search engine, Neil, and find out
Yeah, it's like saying
whether it's a Christmas
it's like saying
movie.
Home Alone's not a Christmas movie because it's not about Christmas
Exactly.
per se. It's specifically about a home invasion that's foiled by a kid. So it's not a Christmas movie, right?
During Christmas.
It's only during Christmas. Well, definitely not a Christmas movie then.
Yeah.
It's
It
only
is.
during Christmas.
Nah, it's silly.
It's a home invasion story. Oh, go
That's
on,
actually
feedback.
what it is.
Yeah, well, isn't that what Santa does, you know? It is a Christmas
It's not
story.
what Santa does. Home invasions.
That's great.
That was good. That's a good point.
He's a
Doesn't that
master of
mean
breaking
that
and entering.
any movie
Go on, Rams.
that has Christmas as a theme throughout the movie is a Christmas movie.
I agree.
Correct.
Going by our
Okay,
logic,
so then what if you have a movie that expands a certain amount of time, right? And then you've got, in that movie, in that time, you've got different seasons, they got different holidays. Like, so what? It's a holiday movie then? Like, I don't know.
Well, unless no, but look, sometimes movies can go through different seasons, but then they don't pull in the Christmas time unless it's specifically integral to the story, right? Then they just do, oh, it's winter time. Because once you like, oh, it's during Christmas, it kind of almost immediately becomes a Christmas movie. Because people see it like that. Because in the movie, they're going to be mentioning Christmas, or it's going to be about something in Christmas. Doesn't have to be about Santa Claus or anything. But if it's during Christmas time and people in the movie directly or indirectly have some relation to Christmas, it's a Christmas movie, and that's just the consensus reality here.
Yeah, we just established that 35 seconds ago with Rams.
Yeah.
Well,
Just
going
like
by-
Family Guy and The Simpsons and all those shows will have a Christmas themed episode because that episode is themed around Christmas time. And yeah, that's what makes it a Christmas episode or movie.
My Christmas clip has got stories about torturing Santa, capturing him, extorting money from him, putting a cap in his ass. You name it. I mean, it's hardly festive material, but it's definitely a Christmas video. It's got Santa on the thumbnail.
Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie Jingle All the Way. That's a Christmas movie.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Open fire! That's my Arnie joke.
See,
Clearly
Glover,
didn't
this is
go
what
over.
happens when you have no proof for your geometric horizon, your curvature, anything. This is what we're subjected to. Debating whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
We can agree to disagree.
Now, okay, by those standards, Home Alone is not a Christmas movie either, then.
Well, going by our standards,
Home Alone is more centered in the whole Christmas thing, though. Like it seems to be made to be a Christmas movie. Die Hard, to me,
What
and
is
this
a
is my
Christmas
personal
movie,
opinion.
Chocolate?
To me,
When did you last
What
watch
is a
Die
Christmas
Hard?
movie?
Go watch Die Hard and tell me it's not a Christmas movie.
What? Oh my God.
I'm not
Am I going to be the bad guy in this? Because I don't think Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not
All
on
right.
anyone's side here now.
I'll take that. I'm good with that. I just don't think it is, man. Jingle All the Way, The Santa Claus, things like that, those to me are Christmas movies. Die Hard to me is just a movie that's happening. Yeah, Christmas is in the background, but it's not a Christmas movie.
So like
That's
Home
just me.
Alone then.
I could
So
be wrong.
like Home Alone, there's Christmas in the background, but the main plot point is that the house is going to get burgled and that the kid's been left home alone. It might be, it just so happens that the holiday they've left him home alone on is Christmas, but that doesn't make it a Christmas movie by your standard of Die Hard not being a Christmas movie.
There you go.
Then neither is Rudolph,
Nah.
because nobody played with him because he had a red nose. You had the Isle of Misfit Toys.
That's
not
true.
Christmas
That's
either.
true.
Those poor
That's
kids were
true.
exiled.
What the
Christmas
hell does
movies
Jack
are a myth.
Frost- What? Oh, what the hell does Jack Frost have to do with Santa Claus and Christmas? That's not a Christmas movie either. What? But matter of fact, A Christmas Story. There's no actual Santa in there. Well, why is that a Christmas story?
Is Disney's Frozen a Christmas story?
No,
Never
that's
seen- never seen it.
legitimately. I don't know. That has nothing to do with.
Oh, that's Narnia.
They didn't say nothing about Christmas in that.
Well,
Got a lot-
they're trying
yeah, but
to listen, they're trying to push it as one now.
It's got a lot of snow. It does have a lot of
decorations,
snow. Let's be honest.
Yep. They're pushing it as one now.
No. So you go to Target and get Frozen for the holiday season. F all.
Yeah, but think about Rudolph. That was terrible. Nobody played with him because his nose was red.
We had that joke.
And then the toys because they had a. So what? It's
Look,
a Charlie in the box.
I left out a perfectly good bestiality gag that didn't go along with that joke, so you're not going to get to repeat it twice.
Alrighty then.
So yeah, be here or be
Yes.
sphere for my Christmas video. It was where we were all chatting about our views on Santa, which I was quite shocked about. I thought I was quite negative in that regard, so to find out I was the only one with any positivity towards it whatsoever was a bit of a shock.
No, writing
To be fair, I'm going to round out this show relatively early today because we're going to go and see some Christmas lights. Happy days.
Are they Christmas lights or just lights?
They're just lights. They're just bulbs, you know, filament. It's just light. I mean, the fact that
What
it's
makes
at
them
Christmas
Christmas
and
lights?
strung around trees, that doesn't necessarily mean it's Christmas lights, right? Chocolate.
Exactly.
Wait, y'all didn't like my Christmas version of Already then?
We
How
just used.
dramatic it
It was
was?
alright.
We
it was
actually
alright.
think you're slightly insane when you do things like that. We just kind of go along with it because no one wants to address it. See, told you.
On Christmas morning, I'm gonna wake up and go to my kitchen and turn on my light, and that's gonna be Christmas lights. Yeah,
If we were,
because I turned
real,
it on Christmas.
if we were real friends, we'd have a little intervention with you, Eli, about your slightly disturbing behaviour. But we don't. So there we go. Take that as you like. We just let it be.
Merry Christmas.
But seriously, if you're suffering from mental problems, don't tell me about them. I don't really care.
They have 311. I'm sure I can call.
Yeah, or something like
Get
that.
help if I need to.
Yeah.
Hotline. I can Google it. How to consider yourself helped. Should pop up.
I've heard if you go to some anti-flat Earth forums, that does your mental disposition no end of good.
Oh yeah. Don't do that.
I've only ever been a few times when Discord was relatively new to me. You know, I went in for a few of the servers, mostly by accident because I didn't know what I was doing. But yeah, I don't know. There seemed to be a lot of pain in the anti-flat Earth servers. Super serious too. They really are only there to affirm their bias in the subject. There's no way that, you know, if nobody's opposing them like with us now, you'll get into a frivolous discussion about Die Hard. You know, they're hardcore, man. They're there to know that the Earth's a sphere, and they want people around them telling them so. That's probably a question worth asking of the Discord server. Obviously, this is directed at flat earthers. Does anybody come in the server because they need to affirm their bias? In other words, they're really hoping to find other people that believe as they believe, and I use the word intentionally, that the Earth is flat, and therefore they want to be around people who are talking about it to affirm their bias. Is that what people come to the server for? Anybody in Discord?
I don't think anybody that would do that would actually admit to it.
Why not? Like-minded people who are in a Bigfoot server might say, yeah, I come here because I want to hear other people that don't think I'm crazy. I think I've seen Bigfoot, and I want to be around other people who don't think I'm a nutter, that also have got a belief in Bigfoot. Why wouldn't you admit that? I don't get it. You're saying by comparison, in the anti-flat Earth servers, they wouldn't want to admit that they're only there to discuss how Earth's a sphere and how glorious sphere Earth is. They wouldn't admit to that.
Of course not, because they already know.
But they're in there affirming the bias with each other. That's my point.
I think that's just a show of strength for consensus. Trying to show us that, oh, there are more of us that believe this than you guys, because that's literally what their argument is at this point. They have nothing else. And you saw this debacle that Highlander just came in to try, and it was just horrible. And even the ones that are a lot smarter aren't doing much better. So, I don't know.
I think I'm right about the ones that are smarter that just know it's flat deep down. If they're having to explain away how they're measuring angles on a flat plane, like the example with conspiracy cats, they know it's flat.
Yeah, they definitely do. But
Yeah,
the problem is that we can't know that they know, which is why they can't stand us.
Yeah, we know you know, though.
Yeah, conspiracy cats is a bit too smart to not know. Whether he accepts it now, that's another thing. But he's too smart to not know, I would say.
Yeah, that's exactly how I view it. And that hence leads to the cognitive pain and the lashing out and the need to do something about it. You know, it's reactionary. They're reacting to their own cognitive dissonance when they attack us, and they're projecting that onto us.
Yeah, look at Craig McNeil. It's obvious that he, from the very first moment he came across this subject, found out that there's no way it could be a globe. But he has to fight tooth and nail because he can't accept it. He's sharp enough to spot that it can't be a globe, but he's not able to accept it. That's the problem. It's the acceptance is the problem.
Yeah, it comes with a whole bunch of baggage, doesn't it? Because then there's a realization that there's a fundamental lie that's come from on high that implies, at the very least, that there's other things that might require some investigation, or at the very least some skepticism that you haven't employed until now because you're in blissful ignorance. What you don't know won't hurt you, and if you know that there's massive lies afoot, then you've got to be a conscious individual generally. Vaxy Waxy, did you want to add something?
Why are you crying?
Vaxy
Why are you
Waxy.
being mean?
Vaxy Waxy, can you pop yourself on mute? Vaxy Waxy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. My bad.
That's all right.
Hold on. Did the same thing yesterday when I logged in. I'm sorry, guys.
That's all right.
How do I do it? Hold on.
These things happen.
Well, what side of the argument you on? If you're on the ball side, you're an idiot.
Sounds
if you're
quite
on the
chilled
flat
out.
side, it's okay.
I'm gonna put odds on him being a flatty just by how chilled he sounded.
You kidding me? Space is fake.
There you go. Told you.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, he sounded way too chill to be a glober.
There's a false facade of being calm and chilled from the globe believers, but with an undertone of seriousness that you can't not notice.
Yeah, because when
noticed.
Zinda came on, even though you recognize his accent, you can hear the stress level. He's not relaxed. Has anybody heard from the guy? Is he okay?
Oh dear. Are you being serious, Neil?
Yeah, come
Yeah,
on, somebody
right.
check on Zinda.
Yeah, because I'm super concerned about this random dude. Beyond him being an example, I have no empathy for Zinda's position, because it's completely self-induced, as is the case with all anti-flat earthers. If they all end up, let's speak to them. If you end up, as an individual, having a nervous breakdown as a consequence of your cognitive battle with the lies we've been told about the spherical nature of the world, then that is on you. Now,
That's right.
I'm not going to give you any sympathy, especially when my show is about that very subject. So if you fighting against that leads you to cognitive disarray, that's your problem. You have no one to blame but yourself.
Agreed, because you're right. That's what this show is. And if you're unwilling to come to grips with the reality, then hey, buddy, welcome to the psycho ward. That's your next step.
That's right. This show is
the truth.
For the dude like the guy that was just talking to his kid and was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not on mute." Oh well, you know, for him, he sounds cool, he sounds chilled, and he's not too concerned with anything at the moment on this show. And that's the case for all of the flat earthers for the most part. There's going to be some people like Neil that are, you know, struggling with the ideas, and for whatever reason, they're going to get their head around it eventually. Other than those few examples, right? For the most part, most people that are going to come here are going to just see it like an interesting discussion point because the rest of the world doesn't think the Earth's flat. You know, they're still under the illusion. So it's fascinating. For the other side, that's the anti-flat earthers. This is hell. Coming to this show, they've got to put on a facade of we're in the winning position because I'm on the same side as all the normies. And we know they're not. No, you're not. You're an anti-flat earther. And if you're a smart anti-flat earther, you know it's flat. If you're not, then you're just going to come here and have yourself humiliated by your own stupidity when you declare it's flat to us.
Just in case anybody's listening for the first time, Neil is not struggling. He has a teenager that is a baller that's trying to corrupt the other guys. Neil is totally at peace and the Fonz. Hey.
Fonz wouldn't have needed to actually justify that, Neil. If you were the Fonz, you'd have let that slide. But there we go, I'm just saying.
I'm saying if there's somebody new listening, they don't know I'm the Fonz yet. Oh, I see what
Isn't
you're
it
saying.
funny
They
that
part of
gotta
being the
see I'm the Fonz.
part of being the Fonz is just emanating cool. You don't have to tell people how cool you are, and immediately you're not the Fonz if you are telling people how cool you are.
Shut up, Nathan.
Isn't it funny how
I have
Go, Eli. Mike's all yours. Mike's all yours, Eli.
Go on, Eli. Tell us. Go
on. Because it's like when you hear a chill person, you all know it. Now, there's one version that we think about, the crazy Glover that comes in that's irate. And, you don't know what you're talking about. I heard you mention this. Blah, 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 blah. And then they go to justify. Well, when they justify, it's already an admission that they agree with what you're saying, but you just didn't let out the justification. But then there's the other one that comes in kind of shifty. I just want to, you know, I'm on nobody's side. Nobody's side. I just have a couple of questions.
I'm just here to learn.
I was just going to say that. I'm just here to learn.
And shifty.
I'm not here trying to win Bitcoin. I'm not undercover. I'm just here to learn. Right, any last words? Because I'm going to round out the show and go and watch some Christmas lights turn on. No, with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming Streams for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting the super chat and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video. What a lovely day!